Exodus chapter 20, verse 17 says, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You should not covet your neighbor's wife or his male servant or his female servant or his ox or his donkey or anything that belongs to your neighbor. Now, this is a real interesting thing. Guys, we could completely miss what's going on here because you could look at this and go, okay, wait a minute now. I mean, and it's fair. Coveting your neighbor's wife, didn't he just cover that on don't commit adultery? Kind of like, okay, that's already there. Or coveting his ox and his donkey and his house and male servants. Isn't that kind of the stealing concept of going there? And you're right. It doesn't make any sense except he's in the big picture, number 10, he turns and says, care a lot about who you are inside. He's talking about inner desires, inner lusts, things that we're a part of. And it's easy to look at this and go, what's the point of that? I mean, honestly, why does that really matter? You have to understand it's easy to go, nobody sees that going on, so why do I have to care about what I am inside? The reality is that's exactly the point that God was trying to make. You know, what's interesting is he comes to this idea of not coveting and talking about this strong, if you will, desire or lust. What he's trying to say is that what we do inside, what we care about when we covet other things internally, that's how we end up externally getting messed up. And so when we pay attention to the kind of stuff that goes on inside that nobody else can see but God can, it enables us to be able to pull together what we need to be able to follow God. And so we learn to care about the internal. That goes through the entire 10 Commandments, the internal, and that therefore impacts the external. Now, Jesus actually talked about this in Matthew chapter 23, and he used this, a cup. What he said was this, he was talking to the scribes and Pharisees, and he said to the scribes and Pharisees, you know, you're kind of like a cup. You clean the outside really, really well, and then you go to take a drink out of what's inside, and it is full of gross nastiness. And he says, nobody wants that kind of a cup. He says, you clean the inside of the cup so that the outside will be clean as well. What he was saying is they would clean themselves up and polish themselves up to look like they were righteous and good. And Jesus was trying to tell them, don't just look like you're righteous, actually be that. Be the person that you're supposed to be. Now, I want to show you something I really think is fascinating. We have now spent 3 weeks looking at the 10 Commandments. Did you know that the top 2 commandments did not make it into the 10 Commandment list? In Matthew chapter 22, Jesus was asked a question. They asked him, what are the greatest commandments? They used to debate this all the time. Jesus actually quoted something in both Deuteronomy and also in Leviticus. He started off and he says, well, the first great commandment is this. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. There's the vertical thing. And he said, and that second commandment is, and love your neighbor as yourself, kind of the golden rule moment. Interesting, guys, he talked about vertically get that right, horizontally get that right, and you got it. Guys, that's what we just talked about in the 10 Commandments, the first 4, the final 6. So listen, you and I have an opportunity to be able to look at this and go, you know what, we're going to just do that in communion in just a minute too. We've got the vertical, the horizontal to be able to deal with. And guys, when we're able to do that effectively, the end result is we can have success.